Hey there, it's me, John Stamos, in partnership with Cologuard. And a little birdie told me you're over 45. Listen, that's not old, it's really not. But it's an important age. If you're at average risk, that's when you start screening for colon cancer. And look, it's okay to be nervous, but it's not okay to ignore your own health. It's time to see if the Cologuard test can be an option for you to get screened. All right, I'm glad we had this little chat.
British Spy Stories Season 6 Counter-Strike Episode 18. Tom walks to the blonde woman on the TGV after her invitation to dine together, and he suggests that she join him at his table on the train, as he has 2 double seats all to himself. Her blue eyes sparkle as she talks. Her name is Adelina, and she shakes his hand. It turns out that she is travelling to Rome, too. "I'm David," he says, to align with his fake passport. After champagne is poured without anyone asking for it, they raise their glasses. "To strangers," she says, and he smiles. "What do you do?" says Tom. She shakes her head. "Let's not talk about our current lives. I want to escape, like you do. Tell me something about your past that no one knows," says Tom. Adelina looks out of the window for a moment, then her eyes lock onto his. "I left home at 16 with nothing. Just walked out. My father had left us, and my mother wouldn't let me forget it." "Where was this?" "Switzerland." "You sound British." "International schools. My father was a diplomat." They eat and talk and laugh as the French countryside speeds past the window. The light of the day crescendos, then slides away into the evening. They change at Zurich and Milan. She is fascinated that he has no luggage, and he invents a whole rationale that justifies travelling light and only spending cash. "Is any of that true?" she says. "None of it." She laughs out loud, and he realizes that he'd forgotten what natural laughter sounds like. They finally arrive in Rome Termini station at midnight, and he suggests they share a cab. As the car meanders through the streets of Rome, he suggests they have a drink in his hotel. And now it's 3 a.m, and she's asleep next to him. There are no covers on the bed, and they're both naked. He stares up at the ceiling, imagining looking down on the 2 of them, spread across the thick white linen below. Her body curved towards him in an arc. He falls asleep again, and is woken by Adelina saying his name. "David." He opens his eyes, and she smiles. "I don't even know your last name," he says. "I know." There's a slight pause, as he realizes that she's not going to say any more on that topic. "I have things to do today," she says. "When are you going?" "Now." He realizes that she's already dressed in a black Dior suit and white shirt. "Will I see you again?" he says. "Or is that it? One night with a stranger?" "You'll see me." She kisses his lips, swings her legs off the bed, and then she's gone. The door shuts on the autocloser, and he waits for the click of the lock before breathing again. After a shower, Tom picks up the white envelope that he ignored last night that had been lying on the sideboard in the room when they arrived. He descends to the restaurant and is given a seat in the sun, looking out over the eternal city. The breakfast is an extravagant affair of croissant, coffee, meats, cheese and fruit. It reminds him how different his life is going to be from now on. He's growing used to the idea that everything has changed, but he needs the money that this man Kurigin has promised him. Tom slides a finger under the flap of the envelope and pulls out the 3 sheets of paper nestled inside. One sheet is a photograph of Alexei Orlov, the man whom Tom is going to kill. The second page lists places Orlov uses to sleep, shop, eat and drink when he's in Rome. The final leaf is a list of 4 possible ways that Tom can murder the man. And at the bottom of the page, Kerrigan has itemized the tools of the trade that are waiting in a station locker: a handgun, a razor wire, a bottle of arsenic, and a flick knife. Tom is free to select his weapon of choice. Tom's mind instantly imagines each of the 4 routes to death in every detail. But he pushes the ideas away from inside his head. He doesn't want to plan too much. He didn't plan any of the details about the murder of Major Illin, nor the drivers. He just let himself do it. That's what he'll do this time too. He's been trained how to kill. That's the purpose of soldiers after all. So it shouldn't be a surprise that he's a natural at it. He's a professional too, not some crazed murderer. He's just using the skills he has to get on. He knocks back the remains of his coffee and walks out to the street, then punches in the address of Orlov's apartment to his phone to start the reconnaissance phase of this operation. The rumble of the Oshkosh 1070F tractor units can be heard in the gatehouse of Tidworth Barracks for 2 minutes before the giant heavy equipment transporters appear around the corner of the road and start to turn into the barracks entrance. A giant hiss of air brakes indicates the drivers have stopped for the guards' inspection of the vehicles and the paperwork. On the flatbeds behind the cabs, covered in dark green tarpaulin, 2 44-ton trailer units sway slightly as the momentum stops. They were recovered from the deck of the Ocean Longmoor after the ship returned to shore, and MI5 went through each of the trailers in turn as they were unloaded, until they found the cut-up Challenger 4 battle tank inside the 37th and the 65th trailers. The Tidworth guards make their inspection and raise the barrier before the vast bulk of the transporters grind their way towards a warehouse at the far western end of the compound. The warehouse doors have already been opened to let the transporters inside. As soon as the first one comes to a halt, a gantry is wheeled across and chains attached to lift the whole trailer off the flatbed. It's raised up, then 4 people pull and push it across on the gantry into a temporary laboratory that's been built by the MI5 forensics team in the last few days. The thick chains strain with the weight, and the process is slow, but gradually they inch across before dropping down into the laboratory, where every part of the machine will be inspected and every cable, nut and bolt analysed to discover the truth. 2 layers of portable offices have been stacked at the side of the warehouse for Connie Barrett and her MI5 field officers to continue their work and receive the analysis that will start to pour out of the scientists over the coming hours and days. Within 3 hours, Agent Hopwood knocks on Connie's office door that overlooks the warehouse and laboratory. "The Prof wants to provide initial observation, ma'am," she says, referring to Professor Dandridge, who is leading the analysis team. "Show him up, Hopwood." Professor Dandridge brings 2 of his team with him, and they sit on chairs in front of Connie's desk. He has brown, excitable eyes, thick black-framed glasses, and a mop of grey hair. "Miss Barrett," he begins, making a tiny smile. "This is not our final report by any means, but I wanted to flag up what the team has already found so far, as we think a serious issue has emerged." She waits on tenterhooks. "The whole vehicle, all the components, have been X-rayed. There's a test we do that indicates the tiny residual particles disturbed on the surface of an object during X-ray exposure. We found a false wall at the front of both the trailers," he says. "Behind them, we found portable X-ray scanners. From my academic and industrial network, I know there's a new machine that has been designed but never built," says the professor. "They call it the Gorgon machine. It uses AI to turn X-ray scans directly into cloned components. It links fabrication machinery to the scanned objects to create a perfect copy. This goes beyond normal 3D printing. This is the robotic manufacture of an atomic-level clone of any object on an industrial scale. Tell me the background, she says. Originally, the technology was funded to create accurate medical implants. If you need a new knee joint, say, this Gorgon machine can create the joint that fits perfectly when the surgeon operates. 3D printing can't do that today. And this technology isn't limited by the size or complexity of the object, says Connie, raising an eyebrow. Even battle tank components. Professor Dandridge nods sagely. It is believed that an attempt was made to build a Gorgon machine, but it failed. We know that the Russians have invested heavily in further research, and they may have the expertise. So let me get this clear, says Connie. It's our conjecture that the whole tank was X-rayed en route to Felixstowe, with people in the back of the trailers all the way. They only need to take X-ray scans and feed them into a Gorgon machine, and they'll be able to create a complete clone of every part of the Challenger 4. The professor's eyes have a look of sadness. So they never intended to steal it, she says. Just borrow it. She turns to Hopwood. We need to review all of the CCTV footage of the trucks from Tidworth to Felixstowe. There were no X-ray scans with the drivers' bodies on the ship, so they've been dropped off somewhere. I need to see where the scans were handed over to someone. It's a top priority, Hopwood. Yes, Mum. She immediately stands, leaving Connie and the researchers to discuss more details about the forensic findings. Number 24 Via Vigilio is a white cube of a building with black windows scattered across all sides and a brown wooden door to the street. The place is right at the heart of Rome's expensive Prati district that is wedged between the west bank of the river Tiber and the walls to Vatican City. On the opposite side of the road to number 24 is a cafe, where Tom has been sitting and nursing a coffee for nearly an hour. He's been pretending to read the news on his phone, but actually he's been keeping watch of the brown door for signs of the man he plans to kill. At 11:20, the brown door opens, and Alexei Orlov steps out into the July sunshine in a cream suit. He is with a woman in her 30s. She has dark hair, is wearing Chloe sunglasses, and a short white dress that Tom doesn't know is this season's Nadine Marabi exclusive. The couple walk slowly north and turn into the Via Cola di Rienza, the area's main shopping street. Tom keeps a steady 50 yards behind them, and he has to repeatedly pretend to be engrossed in his phone to allow him to stand still in the street without garnering suspicious looks from passers-by when the couple he's following ahead stop to admire something in a shop window. They look at furniture and clothes, food and fabric. The woman takes the lead in all of this, Tom notices. Orlov seems to be happy to just go along with her setting the agenda. At exactly 12:30, Orlov and the woman take pavement seats outside a restaurant called Il Matriciano on Via de Gracchi. Tom approaches the maitre d'hotel and asks for a table at the same place. He is seated only 20 feet away from the couple, and Tom orders paccheri alla carbonara and a carafe of house white. The more he has gone through the plans in his head, the more Tom wants to get this over with quickly. Orlov could leave Rome at any time, and Tom's lifeline of cash from Korygin would dry up. The sooner the better, he thinks. Then he will go as far away as possible and start again. While Connie waits for the scientists to analyze and rebuild the Challenger 4 tank, MI5 have had 2 major raids today, and she has been able to run those online from her temporary office in the Tidworth warehouse. Near the end of the day, a light knock comes on her office door. "Come in," she calls, and Agent Loxby appears. "We found something, Mum. Do you want to come and see?" They drop down to the operations room, which takes up all of the ground level of the temporary offices. On the far end wall of the space is a single projected image of a heavy goods vehicle parked at the side of a rural road. As she sits, keeping her eyes on the screen, Connie says, "Where's this?" "Capel St Mary in Suffolk, Mum," says Hopwood. "It's a village just off the main road that runs from here to Felixstowe. And what are we looking at? Press play, Loxby, would you?" she says, and the video starts to move. Hopwood runs a commentary over the silent film. "This is about 5 in the evening after the robbery. You can see one of the trucks there parked up. The driver is about to get out of the cab." She pauses her words as the pictures catch up. Then Hopwood continues. "He walks around the back, opens the doors and lets this man out." Their eyes are all locked on the moving images. "Do we know who he is?" "Not yet," says Loxby. "He's not on any police computer in the UK, nor on the Interpol database." "There's a post office down the road, 2 doors down," says Hopwood. They watch as the man from the back of the truck disappears into a corner shop, carrying a rectangular parcel wrapped in brown paper. "We've cut the tape to miss out the bit when he's in the post office," says Hopwood, and the images on the screen jump to show the man reappearing. "No parcel," says Loxby. "You've traced it and spoken to the post office owner?" "Yes, Mum," says Loxby. "It was sent off first class to an address in Amsterdam." "And?" "It arrived and was collected," says Hopwood. "The Dutch police sent us a CCTV tape of the man who collected it." "Let's see him." Connie's eyes are burning hotter with each step of this story. Hopwood nods to Loxby, who presses play on the second video. "Calverstraat in the north of the city," she says, as they all watch the footage. The screen displays a busy street with people walking past. One man wearing an American baseball cap, pulled down to his eyebrows, walks out of a side street and goes straight into a bookshop on the right-hand side of the screen. The video cuts again to him walking back out to the street. In his hands is the same brown parcel that was posted by the X-rayer in Suffolk, despite his baseball cap disguise. As the man passes a camera on the street, for less than half a second, he glances up at the lens, and Loxby hits the pause button. "We have an ID on this man?" says Connie. "We do," says Loxby. "He's Russian intelligence." Connie breathes out, and there's a brief gap in the conversation. "And what's his name?" "He's a senior member of the SVR," says Loxby. 30 years service with Russian espionage. Based in Moscow. The man's name is Alexei Orlov.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are...
Gary the Snake.
And your last name?
The Snake.
Dream Team. And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working at
Zootopia 2. Now available on Disney+, rated PG.
Episode 19. Gabby chooses the coast road to drive from Forte dei Marmi to Rome. She and Talgarth talk about the state of espionage in Europe as they follow the route south. The Aston Martin eats up the miles as the last gasps of the day's sunlight crackle across the Mediterranean beyond the glass. London has booked the safe house Epsilon 6 for the two women to work from during their time in the city. Epsilon 6 takes up the whole of the top floor of an apartment block at the western end of Piazza del Risorgimento. This place has been an MI6 secure location for a century. It's only 100 yards from the walls of Vatican City, and the rumours that there are escape tunnels under the road from Epsilon 6 to St. Peter's Basilica have never gone away. 10 years ago, MI6 Tech Branch gutted the apartment and installed a completely new comms room and security system. The Aston's lights trace the outline of the underground car parking entrance at the back of the block, and a grey security gate rattles upwards to let the car inside. A scanner reads Gabby's number plate on the way down the first ramp, which unlocks a second secure gate to the MI6 parking places. She pulls up into an empty space next to an armoured Range Rover Evoque. The lift at this level only goes directly to the penthouse, and when the doors open at the top, there is only blackness around them. As the women step out of the lift, sensors fade up lighting to reveal a modern apartment with broad open luxury and subtle decoration. There's a fully stocked fridge thanks to Gabby ordering the MI6 catering pack number 1 as part of the booking. So Talgarth cooks pasta, and they open a bottle of Italian white before going to bed early, as their alarms are set for 4 a.m. A full moon hangs over Rome, as Gabby and Talgarth dress in black leggings, black battle-dress tops, and black masks around their necks, ready to pull up across their mouths and noses. The 900-metre run from Epsilon 6 to Via Vigilio takes 3.5 minutes. MI6 have a camera database that lists the locations of all CCTV cameras on the streets of all the major world cities, which allows Gabby to navigate a route through the Roman streets that avoids them being spotted as they speed through the darkness. They divert down between the back of buildings as they approach their target. Talgarth goes down on one knee and picks the lock at the rear door of the apartment block, numbered 24, and they move noiselessly up the back stairs until they reach the second floor. In the same area of Rome, Tom leaves his hotel. He had decided that today is the day that he will kill Orlov, after watching the man eat and laugh his way through 3 courses of lunch with his girlfriend yesterday. Tom had visited the locker in Rome Termini Central Station in the afternoon and selected the handgun as his preferred instrument of death. On the walk back to his hotel, he had bought clothing more suitable for a break-in, and it is those black trousers and army-style jumper that he's wearing now, as he moves through the streets on his dawn raid. When he reaches the apartment block, he breaks a window on the ground floor at the back and unlatches it before climbing through into a hallway. At the door of the apartment, Gabby fishes into her pocket and inserts the key to flat 5. The mechanics click, and she gently pushes the door open. She has a key thanks to a team called SB14, whose job is to provide MI6 field agents with keys for any lock in the world within 24 hours of a request reaching their subterranean workshops in the officially never opened North End station on the London Underground. When a key request is received, a local MI6 spook is sent from the nearest British embassy to pose as a parcel courier and scan the lock using one of Tech Branch's T7 portable miniature scanners. The images are bounced back via satellite to London, and the finished key is taken by motorcycle to Heathrow, then flown to the field agent to allow for their break-in. Gabby and Talgarth unholster their Glock 17s and hold them muzzle up near their shoulders. It's nearly pitch black inside the apartment. Only shadows and outlines give the spies any idea of what's in front of them. They move in silence from the door and along a corridor that cuts through the heart of the flat. They communicate only with hand signals in the near darkness. They know there are 3 bedrooms in this apartment, and that the master bedroom is the first on the left. Gabby's fingers lace around the handle. She turns her wrist, and the wood moves away from the frame. They both subconsciously stop breathing as the door swings wider. The blind is up in the room, and there's enough light to show that the bed is empty. The spies lock their gaze, both asking the same question without any words. Gabby nods back to the corridor, and they walk further into the maze of rooms within the apartment. The second bedroom is empty too, so they move to the final bedroom door. Gabby again grips the brass handle and turns it, but the room is empty. There are a few seconds of silence. Then the smallest sound stutters along the corridor as the front door opens. The two spies take positions inside the third bedroom, each standing one side of the open doorway. They can hear feet on the Italian tiles. The sound builds, but the footsteps walk right past their hiding place and into the lounge. The first gunshot cascades through the flat, then a second. "That first was a Marikov," says Talgarth. "The second was a Gratch." "Both Russian, then." The two women move at speed into the corridor and towards the gunfire. Two more shots push out ahead of them before they reach the room. "Cover me," says Gabby, and Talgarth opens fire into the room while Gabby ducks inside and positions herself behind an enormous wooden display cabinet that's near one corner. She can see greater details here, as there is more illumination from the moon in this room. Alexei Orlov is in one corner, slumped against the side wall. At the far end of the room, a younger man is also lying on the floor. Neither are moving. Gabby waits to see if either of them show signs of life, but Orlov and the man are utterly still. She slowly stands and emerges from her cover position, but the young man does move now and comes for Gabby. The force of his shoulder ramming into her takes her backwards. She spins away and hits her head on something she can't see, but she ignores the pain and launches herself back at the man. She gets arms around his head, but his strength allows him to twist out of the hold. He locks an arm around her, and Gabby loses her grip of the Glock. She turns back to him and levers her body away, then comes in with both fists to his stomach and groin. He's stopped by the advance, and she continues with her punches. She can feel blood on her knuckles, but the man gets a hold of her throat, and his fingers tighten on her windpipe. Talgarth is here now and uses her Glock to hit the back of the man's skull. He gets a punch to Talgarth's face, then pushes Gabby to the wall and uses that moment to escape. He runs up the corridor, and they hear the door slam behind him. "Pursue, Mum," says Talgarth. "Leave it, Ivy. He's not the reason we're here." They both walk to Orlov. He's still slumped uncomfortably against the wall. Gabby feels for a pulse. He's not dead. "Let's get him onto the sofa. Get water and blankets," she says to Talgarth. They lift him gently, lay him down on the settee, and Talgarth brings a duvet to maintain his body temperature. Gabby inspects for wounds, and there is evidence of 2 impacts. There's a gun wound to his right leg, but it was a glancing blow, and the bullet will be embedded in the wall somewhere. There's also a long gash on his arm. It's unclear what made it, but they speculate that it was from the fall. They find a medical box in the bathroom and clean up both injuries. "We could be here for hours if he remains unconscious. We need to talk to him." "I can bring him round," says Talgarth. "My gran taught me how to make smelling salts." She disappears into the kitchen, and 10 minutes later returns with liquid in a bowl and a cloth. She dips the corner of the cloth, and Gabby can smell the ammonia as she does so. Orlov coughs after a second of the cloth near his nostrils, and his eyes open. He looks at each of them slowly. "Are you in pain?" "My leg." "You just need rest. It's not serious." "Who was the man who attacked you?" "No idea." "SVR assassin?" "Too amateurish. I wouldn't be alive now if it'd been one of those." Gabby narrows her eyes. "Why did you run in Prague?" He takes a deep breath out. I want to get away from all this. I'm tired of spying. Were you just playing us by pretending to want to defect? It was my way out. Every senior SVR officer is followed when they're outside Russia. I had a tail on me all the time I was in London. I knew MI6 would have pre-planned escape routes to move assets out of London and out of the UK. So, yes, I used you in that sense.
Is that why you were talking about the T99 X-ray scans in Amsterdam? She says. It didn't make sense then, but it does now. You wanted to trade something, because you weren't going to be around to be debriefed at all on your SVR knowledge by MI6, were you?
On a professional level, I apologize.
Gabby keeps her questions coming. Where's your mistress, Francesca? Isn't this her apartment?
She's not my mistress. We knew each other at university. She's my oldest friend. She's away for a few days, seeing her parents in Verona. She lets me stay here when I need somewhere in Rome.
Why did Veronica tell us this address? You wanted us to find you, didn't you? Says Gabby. You weren't expecting the gunman, though. So what did you plan to do once we got here? Kill us?
I want your help, says the Russian. Once I got to Amsterdam, I had planned to create a new life by paying for plastic surgery and new identities for my family. Then we'd all just disappear.
But, says Gabby,
my money to fund all of that was spread across several accounts that I thought were well hidden. But it turns out that Moscow knew about them. They froze everything before I could make any transfers. It was a stupid mistake. I was too concerned that I would raise their suspicions if I had moved the cash before I disappeared. But I was too slow. After my team faked my kidnapping in Amsterdam, I went to a small private bank that I know, but Moscow had already blocked my accounts.
MI6 aren't going to pay for your new life, Alexei.
I need 20 million, and I'll sell you the full T99 X-ray scans. If the British have full knowledge of the next generation of Russian military tank now, you'll be ahead on the battlefield for a decade, maybe 20 years. She tests his knowledge.
Gabby will know from his demeanour whether her next words are news to him. The X-ray scans you left in Prague airport were fake, Alexei.
It was just to get you out of Amsterdam. All my contacts for passports and surgery are in that city. I couldn't have you tracking me. But I do have the real X-ray scans.
You'll forgive my scepticism until we see them and validate them this time.
Of course.
He smiles. I'll need to talk to London, says Gabby. Where will I get hold of you?
I'm staying here. Francesca is back this afternoon. She can look after me with these injuries.
Do you know that your family is under MI6 protection, Alexei?
He nods. The spies stand and start to walk out. Just before they leave, Gabby turns back to him.
One last thing, she says. Our analysis says that you're highly likely to have a mistress. It's your weakness. If it's not Francesca, who is it?
Veronica, he says. Tom runs all the way down the stairs to the apartment block and nearly loses his footing 3 times before he reaches the ground floor and crashes out of the brown door onto Via Vigilia. He ducks into the first alleyway he finds that leads to the back of the properties along this street. He stops to catch his breath. Only now does he feel the stickiness of the blood on his battle-dress top, and the pain spasms up into his muscles from his stomach wound. Tom grunts at the deep-seated agony. He needs to rest or he won't make it back to his hotel. It's still early, and there's no one in the access yard ahead of him. So he sits on the ground and leans back against the wall of the building. He closes his eyes and thinks about the gunfight with Orlov a few minutes ago. What annoys him is that he knows he hit the man, but he doesn't know if Orlov is dead. Korygin will want proof. He'll want to know the job has been carried out before handing over the cash. Tom considers going back to double-check, but knows that his body is too damaged at the moment. In a day he'll come back to check the man's dead. or he'll finish the job. He doesn't know how long he's been sitting against the wall, or whether he lost consciousness, but suddenly he can hear more activity on the roads around him, as people have started their working day in Rome. Tom pushes himself up and has to stand stock still for 5 seconds to let his blood pressure build. He checks his stomach, and it's not bleeding out, so he's certain that he'll recover quickly. As he steps out from the yard and back into the street, Tom can hear an engine run up beside him and stop. When he looks, he sees a red Alfa Romeo Spider and Adelina's blue eyes smiling at him. "I said you'd see me again," she calls from the open-topped sports car. He walks over and leans heavily on the passenger door to support himself. "Get in, my family has a place up in the hills near Tivoli. Come on, half an hour, and we'll be there." "How did you know I'd be here?" he says. "I have my secrets, David. Just like you." He gets into the passenger seat and Adelina accelerates down the street, and the roar of the Spider echoes off the buildings around them as they head for the hills.